At 15, I was kicked out in the rain because of a lie. My sister lied, and my mom yelled, "You're not welcome in this house." I didn't fight back, I just walked. 2 weeks later, she laughed about it to her friends, not realizing Dad was standing right behind her. Hey Reddit. So at 15, I got kicked out of my house in the pouring rain because my sister told my mom I stole her college savings. Spoiler alert, I didn't. But my mom screamed, "You're not welcome in this house," and slammed the door in my face anyway. 2 weeks later, my sister was laughing about the whole thing to her friends. She had no idea my dad was standing right behind her, listening to every word. I remember that night down to the exact temperature, 53 degrees. October in Michigan hits different when you're standing outside in a hoodie that's already soaked through, watching the rain come down sideways. The kind of rain that finds every gap in your clothes and reminds you that nature doesn't care about your problems. I was on the porch with nothing but my school backpack, that useless hoodie, and 7 words still ringing in my ears. You're not welcome in this house. That's all it took. 15 years of being someone's son, erased in 7 words. My sister Ashley stood behind Mom in the doorway. I caught her expression for just a second and saw the corner of her mouth twitch. Not a full smile because she was too smart for that with Mom watching. But there was something there. Satisfaction. The look of someone who just won a game I didn't even know we were playing. Let me back up and explain how I ended up on that porch. And really, how I ended up in this situation in the first place. Because this wasn't just about one night. This was years of buildup that finally exploded. 3 hours earlier, I'd been at cross-country practice doing hill repeats until my legs felt like they were made of concrete. Coach Patterson was one of those old-school coaches who believed pain built character and that anything worth doing was worth doing until you wanted to die. We ran those hills until half the team was ready to throw up, and the other half was already dry heaving on the side of the path. I actually liked it though. Running cleared my head. When I was out there pushing my body to its limits, I didn't have to think about the weird tension at home or Ashley's increasingly hostile attitude. Just breathe, move forward, repeat. Simple. By the time I got home around 6:30, I was exhausted in that good way where your muscles feel like jelly, but your head feels clear. All I wanted was a hot shower, a massive sandwich, and maybe an hour of mindless TV before starting homework. Dad was still at work. He managed a distribution warehouse about 40 minutes away and usually didn't get home until after 8. His job was demanding, but he never complained about it. Just came home tired, ate dinner, and spent whatever energy he had left trying to connect with me and Ashley. Though honestly, it was mostly just me since Ashley barely acknowledged his existence unless she needed something. Mom's car was in the driveway, which meant she was probably in her home office doing something for the real estate company she worked for. She'd been a real estate agent for like 15 years, pretty successful at it too. She had this way of being super charming with clients, making them feel like she really cared about finding their perfect home. At home though, that charm disappeared. She saved all her energy for work and Ashley. Ashley was 17 then, 2 years older than me. Our relationship was what I'd call complicated, but that's being generous. She was the golden child. I don't mean that in the casual way people throw the term around on Reddit. I mean everything she did got praised and cataloged and broadcast to relatives like breaking news. Every grade, every achievement, every time she managed to show up somewhere on time, it was a family celebration worthy of documentation and social media posts. I remember when Ashley made honor roll freshman year with a 3.2 GPA. Mom threw her an actual party, invited aunts and uncles, made a 3-layer cake, bought balloons that said success on them. When I made honor roll that same semester with a 3.8, Mom gave me a high five and said, "That's great, honey," without looking up from her phone. Or the time Ashley got accepted into the school play as a background dancer. Mom went to every single performance, took approximately 4,000 photos, and made a Facebook album called My Star Shines Bright. When I qualified for the regional cross-country championships the same month, Mom said she'd try to make it but had a work thing. She didn't make it. The patterns were everywhere once you started noticing them. Ashley got a car for her 16th birthday. A used Honda, but still, her own car. I got a card with $50 in it. Ashley wanted to take art classes. Mom enrolled her in private lessons that cost $200 a month. I wanted to join a running club. Mom said we couldn't afford the $30 membership fee. It wasn't about money. It was about priority. Ashley was the priority. I was the afterthought. But here's the thing. I was fine with that. Honestly. I had running, and Dad came to every single one of my meets without fail. Rain, shine, work emergency, didn't matter. Dad was there. He'd cheer louder than anyone, even when I placed middle of the pack. We had our thing, separate from whatever orbit Ashley and Mom existed in. That was enough for me. But that fall, Ashley started acting different. More secretive, more hostile. Little comments at dinner, rolled eyes when I spoke, leaving rooms when I entered. I figured it was senior year stress or college application pressure. Mom had been writing her hard about getting into Michigan State, where Mom went. Looking back, I should have paid more attention. The shift really happened Labor Day weekend, about 6 weeks before everything fell apart. We were at a family barbecue at my uncle's place, and my cousin Danny asked how cross country was going. I mentioned I was on track to be one of the top runners in our district, maybe even compete at state level. Dad jumped in with his huge smile, talking about my training schedule and how much I'd improved over the summer. He was genuinely proud, which felt good because Dad wasn't the type to hand out compliments for nothing. Ashley was sitting across the table, and I caught her expression. It lasted maybe 2 seconds, but I saw pure hatred in her eyes. concentrated resentment that made my stomach drop. Then it vanished, replaced by her usual pleasant smile, and I convinced myself I'd imagined it. I hadn't imagined anything. What I didn't understand then was that Ashley had spent her entire life being the center of Mom's universe. Every achievement, every milestone, every small victory got celebrated and posted on Facebook and emailed to relatives. She was the proof that our parents were doing something right, the standard bearer of family success. My running success threatened that. Not because Mom cared about athletics particularly, but because Dad's enthusiasm for my achievements was creating a counterweight to her narrative. Suddenly, there were two success stories in the family. Two kids worth bragging about. Two reasons for pride. For Ashley, who'd grown up believing she was the only bright spot in our family constellation, this was intolerable, completely unacceptable. And what I didn't know was that she had a secret that was about to detonate in the middle of our family like a grenade. When I walked through the front door that evening, something felt immediately wrong. The air had that heavy quality, like before a thunderstorm. Mom was standing in the living room, which was weird because she was usually in her office at this time. Her face was a color I'd never seen before, somewhere between purple and gray, like she was holding back something that might actually kill her if she let it out. Ashley was on the couch crying, really crying. The kind with tissues piled around her, shaking shoulders, red blotchy face, and all the performance of genuine devastation. She was doing this thing where she'd look at Mom, then at me, then away quickly like she couldn't bear to meet my eyes. "What's going on?" I asked, dropping my backpack by the door. My shoes were still wet from the puddles on the walk home. Mom turned to me slowly, like she was moving underwater. "How could you?" "How could I what?" I was genuinely confused. My first thought was that maybe I'd forgotten to do something, a chore or an errand. "Don't you dare play innocent with me." Her voice was shaking with barely controlled rage. Ashley told me everything. Everything. I looked at my sister, trying to understand what was happening. She wouldn't meet my eyes, just stared at the carpet with her hands trembling in her lap. There were tissues scattered around her feet like snow. "Mom, I seriously have no idea what you're talking about. What did I supposedly do?" "She says you've been stealing from her for months." Mom's voice cracked. "You took the money she's been saving for college, her future. You stole your sister's future." The accusation hit me like a punch to the gut. The air went out of my lungs. Ashley had a savings account she'd been building since she was 14. Birthday money, babysitting cash, some inheritance money from our grandmother who passed when we were kids, plus random checks from relatives for good grades. Last I heard, it was somewhere around $4,000, maybe more. I had never touched it, never even thought about it. Didn't know where she kept her debit card. Didn't know her PIN. Had zero access to any of it. "That's insane," I said, my voice coming out higher than I intended. "I would never do that. Mom, you know me. Why would I steal from Ashley?" She showed me the texts. Mom held up her phone. There on the screen was a conversation supposedly between me and someone named Tyler, discussing how to access Ashley's account and what we'd spend the money on. The messages were detailed, specific, damning, talking about how she'd never figure it out, laughing about the whole thing. "Those aren't real," I said, reaching for the phone. Mom pulled it back. "I didn't send those. Mom, I don't even know anyone named Tyler. It's from your number. It's spoofed or something. People can fake that stuff. Ashley, tell her the truth. Whatever this is, tell her what's really going on." My sister finally looked up. Her eyes were red from crying, and in them I saw something that shook me more than the rain ever would. She wasn't scared. She wasn't confused. She was calculating. "I can't believe you're still lying," she whispered. "After everything." What followed was 30 minutes of the most surreal argument of my life. I denied everything. Mom screamed. Ashley cried and added more details. How I'd apparently been jealous of her for years. How I'd made comments about her savings. How I'd even threatened her when she confronted me privately about it. She described a conversation that supposedly happened in her bedroom 3 weeks ago, where I allegedly told her I deserved that money more than she did. She mentioned specific details that made it sound real. That I'd talked about buying a better phone. That I'd said Mom would never believe her over me. None of it was true, not a single word, but Mom had already made her decision before I walked through that door. "I called your father," Mom said eventually, her voice hoarse from yelling. "He's on his way home. We're going to deal with this as a family. There's nothing to deal with because I didn't do anything. The evidence says otherwise. The evidence is fake. Can't you see that? Why would I steal from Ashley? I have my own money from my summer job. I don't need hers." "Maybe you're jealous," Ashley said quietly. "Maybe you've always been jealous that I'm the successful one." I actually laughed at that, which was probably the wrong response. "Successful at what? Getting everything handed to you?" Mom's face went dark. "Don't you talk to your sister like that. She's lying to you and you can't even see it. Get out." The words came so fast I almost didn't register them. "What? Get out of this house. Right now. Before your father gets home and sees what you've become. Mom, please, just listen to me for 1 second. You're not welcome in this house. Not until you can admit what you did and apologize to your sister." I looked at Ashley one more time. She had this expression on her face, like she was trying to look sad, but couldn't quite hide the triumph underneath. That's when I knew for certain this was all planned. Every detail, every tear, every trembling hand. It was all performance art. I grabbed my backpack and walked out. Mom slammed the door behind me hard enough that I felt it in my chest. The rain started about 5 minutes later. I stood there on the porch for maybe 5 minutes, just processing what had happened. Rain was starting to fall. Light drops at first that felt almost gentle. My phone buzzed with a text from Dad asking what was going on, that Mom had called him saying there was an emergency with me and Ashley. I tried calling him, but it went straight to voicemail. He was probably driving, phone in his pocket. I couldn't stay on the porch. Mom was watching through the window, arms crossed like a bouncer, making sure the unwanted customer actually left. Every few seconds she'd glance at me, making sure I was actually leaving her property. So I started walking. No destination in mind, no plan, just moving because standing still felt like giving up or admitting defeat. The rain came down harder with each passing minute. My hoodie was useless within 5 minutes. The fabric just absorbed water like a sponge, getting heavier and colder until it felt like wearing a wet blanket. Water ran down my back, soaked through my jeans making them stick to my legs, filled my running shoes that squelched with every step. Under different circumstances, that squelching sound would have been funny. Right then, it was just another reminder of how thoroughly everything had fallen apart. I walked past the Johnson's house where I used to help Mrs. Johnson with her garden when I was younger. Past the Martinez place where their dog Bruno always barked at everyone. Past the elementary school where Ashley and I used to play on the swings when we were kids, back when we actually got along and she didn't see me as competition. My mind kept replaying the scene in the living room. Ashley's calculated tears. Mom's immediate belief without even a moment of doubt. The fake texts that supposedly proved I was bragging about stealing. The whole thing felt like a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. What hurt most wasn't even the accusation itself. It was how quickly Mom believed it. No hesitation, no benefit of the doubt, no, let's hear both sides. Just immediate judgment and punishment. 15 years of being her son apparently counted for nothing when measured against Ashley's tears. I walked for probably 25 minutes, my feet on autopilot, while my brain tried to make sense of the senseless. The rain was really coming down now, that Michigan October rain that cuts through everything. I was shivering, teeth actually chattering, hands shoved in my pockets, trying to find warmth that didn't exist. And that's when I realized where I was going. Jake's house. My best friend since elementary school lived about a mile from our place, in one of those neighborhoods where the houses all looked slightly different but still coordinated. His family was solid, normal, the kind of people who actually listened when you talked, instead of just waiting for their turn to speak. I showed up on Jake's doorstep looking like I just crawled out of a lake and lost the fight. His mom, Mrs. Chen, answered the door, took one look at me standing there dripping and shivering, and immediately pulled me inside without asking a single question. That's the kind of person Mrs. Chen was. She just knew when something was wrong and her first instinct was always to help. "Oh, honey," she said, already heading toward the linen closet. "Jake, your friend is here and he needs help." Jake came thundering down the stairs in his pajama pants and an old band t-shirt. He took one look at me and his eyes went wide. "Dude, what happened? You look like you went swimming in your clothes. Can I stay here tonight?" My voice sounded weird, kind of hollow. "Of course. Mom, is that okay?" Mrs. Chen was already back with an armful of towels. "Honey, you can stay as long as you need. Let me get you some dry clothes and something warm to drink. Have you eaten? Never mind, I'm making you something regardless." She disappeared into the kitchen while Jake led me upstairs to his room. He grabbed some of his dad's clothes, way too big for me but dry. Sweatpants that I had to tie tight to keep from falling off, and a t-shirt that said, "World's Okayest Dad," which somehow felt appropriate for the situation. While I changed in Jake's bathroom, I caught my reflection in the mirror. My hair was plastered to my head, face pale, eyes looking slightly wild. I looked like someone who'd been through something, which I guess I had been. When I came back out, Jake was sitting on his bed looking concerned. "Okay, so what the hell happened? And don't say it's nothing because you literally showed up at my door looking like a drowned rat at 7 p.m. on a school night." I sat down on Jake's desk chair and just started talking. The whole story came pouring out like water from a broken dam. Ashley's accusation, the fake texts, Mom's immediate belief, the shouting, the door slamming. All of it. Jake sat there listening, his expression moving from concerned to confused to progressively more angry on my behalf. "That's seriously messed up," he said when I finished. "Like, legitimately insane. Your sister sounds like a psychopath. I don't understand why she'd do this. What does she even get out of framing me? I don't know, man. But we'll figure it out. You're safe here. My parents won't kick you out or anything. They're not crazy." Mrs. Chen came up a few minutes later with homemade soup and grilled cheese sandwiches. She sat with us for a while, not trying to give advice or tell me everything would magically be okay. She just listened, made sure I ate something, asked questions that showed she actually cared about the answers. It was such a contrast to Mom's immediate judgment that I almost cried right there. Around 11 p.m., my phone started blowing up. Dad was calling repeatedly. I finally answered. "Hello? Where are you?" His voice was tight with worry and something else. "Anger, maybe. I'm at Jake's house. Stay there. I'm coming to get you in the morning. We need to talk." "Did Mom tell you what happened?" "She told me her version. I want to hear yours. But not over the phone. Get some sleep. I'll be there at 8. He hung up before I could say anything else. I lay awake most of the night on Jake's floor in a sleeping bag, trying to make sense of it all. Why would Ashley do this? What was the end game? It felt like there was a piece of the puzzle I was missing, something bigger than just jealousy over my running success. Dad showed up at exactly 8 a.m. He looked like he hadn't slept either. We sat in his truck in Jake's driveway while rain continued to hammer the windshield. "Tell me what happened yesterday." "Everything." So I did. I went through the whole thing again. Every detail I could remember. Dad listened without interrupting, his jaw getting tighter as I talked. When I finished, he was quiet for a long time. Then he said, "Your mother believes Ashley's story completely. The texts looked real. I saw them. Dad, I didn't send those. I swear on my life. I believe you." Those 3 words hit me harder than anything else that had happened. "You do? I know, my son. You're not a thief. You're not a liar. And you're definitely not stupid enough to brag about stealing in text messages." He rubbed his face. "But there's something else going on here. Something your mother isn't telling me." "Like what?" "I don't know yet, but I'm going to find out." He started the truck. "You're staying with Jake's family for a few days. His mom already agreed. I need to handle some things at home first before you come back." "What things?" "Just trust me. And keep your phone on. I'll call you tonight." He dropped me back at Jake's house and left. I spent the day helping Jake's dad with yard work, trying to keep my mind occupied. Every time my phone buzzed, I jumped, thinking it was Ashley or Mom. But it was just Jake sending me memes, trying to cheer me up. Dad called around 9 p.m. "I'm at the house with your mother and sister. We need to have a family meeting tomorrow. Can Jake's parents bring you over around noon?" "What's going on?" "I'll explain tomorrow. Just be here." The next morning crawled by. Mrs. Chen made pancakes for breakfast, but I could barely eat. Jake kept trying to distract me with video games, but nothing worked. I was too anxious about what was waiting at home. At 11:45, Mr. Chen drove me over. Dad's truck was in the driveway along with Mom's car. Mr. Chen offered to come in with me, but I said I'd be okay. That was a lie, but I didn't want him to see whatever was about to happen. I walked in through the front door. The house was eerily quiet, that heavy silence that feels wrong somehow. Dad was sitting in the living room armchair, still in his work clothes, but looking like he'd been through hell. Mom was on the couch, her face pale and drawn, eyes red like she'd been crying. Ashley was next to her, and for the first time since this started, she looked genuinely scared. Not fake scared like when she was performing for Mom, actually scared. "Sit down," Dad said. His voice was calm, but there was steel underneath it, the kind of tone that meant arguing wasn't an option. I sat in the other armchair, keeping my distance from everyone else. The air felt thick, charged with something I couldn't name yet. Dad looked at Ashley. "Tell your brother what you told me last night." Ashley's hands started shaking. She opened her mouth, but nothing came out. She looked at Mom like she was hoping for backup, but Mom just stared at her hands. "Tell him," Dad repeated, his voice getting colder. "Or I will. And trust me, you want to be the one to say it." "I'm pregnant," Ashley whispered. The words hung in the air like smoke. I just stared at her, my brain trying to catch up with what I just heard. "Pregnant." Ashley was pregnant. "Say it again," I said. Louder. "I'm pregnant." Her voice cracked. "I found out 6 weeks ago. Right before Labor Day. 6 weeks ago. Right when she'd started acting weird. When I'd caught that look of pure hatred at the family barbecue. Suddenly, everything clicked into place in the worst possible way. And you decided to deal with that by framing me for theft?" My voice sounded strange, too calm. "That was your plan?" Ashley started crying, real tears this time. "I didn't know what to do. Mom would kill me. My college plans would be ruined. Everything I'd worked for would be gone. I panicked. So you threw your brother under the bus," Dad said flatly. "Made up an elaborate lie, faked text messages, got him kicked out of his own house in the rain, all to cover up your own mess." "I needed money," Ashley said through the tears. "The baby's father, he's not around anymore. I needed to pay for things, and I thought if I took my own money but made it look like someone stole it, maybe I could access it without Mom asking questions about what I needed it for." I actually laughed at that. "That makes zero sense. You were going to report your own money stolen?" "I thought I could use an insurance claim or something. I don't know. I wasn't thinking straight. Everything was falling apart and I thought if I got rid of the competition for Mom's attention, maybe things would be easier." "Competition," I repeated. The word tasted bitter. "You saw me as competition. You were getting all of Dad's attention with your running. Mom was starting to notice you. For the first time in my life, I wasn't the only one who mattered and I couldn't handle it." She was sobbing now, makeup running down her face. "So when the pregnancy happened and I needed a distraction, needed money, needed Mom focused on something else, you were just there." Dad leaned forward. "It was more than stupid, Ashley. It was cruel. Evil even. You were willing to destroy your brother's life, his relationship with his mother, his entire place in this family, all to cover up your own choices." Mom finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. "I should have questioned it. The texts, the timing, all of it. But Ashley is my daughter and I just believed her." "I'm your son," I said, looking right at her. "That didn't count for anything?" She didn't have an answer for that. "How did you find out?" I asked Dad, needing to understand how this all came crashing down. Dad's jaw tightened. "I came home early yesterday. Told work I had a family emergency, which was true. You were already at Jake's. I heard Ashley on the phone in her room, door closed, but not all the way. She was talking to one of her friends." He looked at Ashley with disgust. She was laughing, bragging about how she'd gotten rid of the competition for Mom's attention. How easy it was to fake those texts using some app. How you'd never figure it out because you're too dumb to understand technology. How Mom would always believe her over you. My stomach dropped. She'd been laughing about it. Actually laughing. "I walked right in," Dad continued. "She saw me standing there and went white as a sheet. Knew immediately she was caught. Tried to claim she was joking, that her friend was just venting and she was playing along. But I made her unlock her phone and show me. Found the app she used to fake your number. Found group chats where she'd planned the whole thing out with her friends, workshopping different scenarios. He pulled out his phone and showed me screenshots. Messages from Ashley to her friends. Gonna need you guys to back me up on this. And mom will 100% believe me over him. She always does. And worst of all, 2 birds, 1 stone. Get money and get rid of annoying little brother. I felt sick looking at it. Then I asked your mother why she was so quick to believe Ashley without even questioning the story. Dad said, his voice hard. Why she threw you out without a second of doubt. She couldn't give me an answer. Not a real one. Mom finally spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. Ashley is my daughter. Of course I believed her. I'm your son, I said, feeling something break inside me, saying it out loud. Doesn't that count for anything? She didn't answer. Couldn't answer, maybe. Dad stood up and I'd never seen him look so angry. Here's what's going to happen. Ashley, you're going to call whoever you need to call and admit you made the whole thing up. Everyone you told, everyone who believed your lies, they all get the truth. You're going to apologize to your brother. And then we're going to figure out what to do about this pregnancy as a family. Because despite everything, we are still a family. Okay, Ashley whispered. And you, Dad turned to Mom, are going to think very carefully about why you were so ready to throw your son out into the rain without even considering his side of the story. Because if I hadn't come home when I did, if I hadn't heard Ashley on that phone, this would have continued. You would have kept believing her. How long would you have left him out there? I was trying to protect my daughter, Mom said weakly. By sacrificing your son? That's not protection. That's favoritism so blatant I can't believe I let it go on this long. I've watched you treat him like a second-class citizen for years, and I convinced myself it wasn't that bad, that kids don't need equal treatment, that as long as I was there for him, it didn't matter. But it does matter. It mattered every single time you chose her over him for no reason except that she's your favorite. The room went silent. Ashley was openly sobbing now. Makeup everywhere. Mom looked like she might throw up. I just sat there feeling numb, like I was watching this happen to someone else on TV. I'm sorry, Ashley said, looking at me through her tears. I'm so sorry. You didn't think I was worth considering, I finished for her. You saw me as competition and decided to eliminate the problem. That's what happened. Don't dress it up as panic or stupidity. You made a choice. She didn't deny it. Couldn't deny it with Dad's screenshots right there proving she'd planned the whole thing. Dad turned to me. You don't have to forgive her right now. You don't have to forgive anyone. But I need you to know that I believe you, I'm proud of you, and you're welcome in this house. Always. This is your home, not a place you get to stay in conditionally based on someone else's lies. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. My throat felt tight. Can I go back to Jake's tonight? I asked. I need some space. Of course, I'll drive you over. But you come home tomorrow, okay? This is your house. I grabbed my stuff and Dad drove me back to Jake's in silence. When we pulled up, he turned to me. I'm sorry I didn't see it sooner. The favoritism, the patterns. I knew about it, but I didn't understand how bad it really was until I saw how quickly she was willing to believe you'd done something that heinous. A mother should know her child better than that. It's not your fault. Maybe not, but I should have done more. He gripped the steering wheel. Your mother and I are going to have some serious conversations. Things are going to change. I promise you that. I believed him. Dad didn't make promises he couldn't keep. The next few weeks were awkward as hell. Ashley stayed in her room most of the time, only coming out for meals and even then barely speaking. Mom walked around the house like a ghost, not quite making eye contact with anyone. The dynamic had shifted so completely it felt like we were all strangers living in the same building. Dad and I started having breakfast together before school. Just us, 6:30 a.m. at the kitchen table, talking about anything except the elephant in every room. He'd ask about my training, I'd tell him about my times, he'd talk about work problems. I'd listen. Normal dad-son stuff that felt weirdly precious now. About a week after the truth came out, Ashley knocked on my door one evening. I was doing homework. Can I come in? It's your house too, I said, not looking up from my textbook. She sat on the edge of my bed, hands twisting in her lap. I called everyone, told them the truth, that I made it all up. Good for you. Some of them didn't believe me. They thought you must have forced me to say that or something. That's how believable my lies were. She laughed bitterly. I was really good at it. Why are you telling me this? I don't know. Maybe I want you to know how much I ruined. My reputation, yours, everything. The baby's father found out what I did. He's even more gone now than before. I finally looked at her. You made choices. Now you deal with the consequences. I know. I wanted you to know I'm sorry. I know that doesn't fix anything. No, it doesn't. She left after that. We didn't talk much after that conversation. Just coexisted in careful orbits around each other. Mom tried harder, which almost made it worse. She'd pack my lunch in the mornings. These elaborate sandwiches with notes that said things like, "Have a great day," like she was trying to be a TV mom or something. She showed up to my next cross-country meet, front row, cheering loudly. It felt performative, like she was trying to prove something to Dad, rather than actually supporting me. One night, about 3 weeks in, she came to my room after dinner. Your father and I have been talking about a lot of things. I waited. He's made it very clear that things need to change. The way I've treated you, the favoritism, all of it. He said if I can't fix it, he's taking you and leaving. He said that? Not in those exact words, but the message was clear. She sat down on my desk chair. I don't know how to be fair to both of you. I've never known how. With Ashley, everything came easy. I understood her. You and your father, you have this whole world together that I'm not part of. Running, cars, sports. I didn't know how to connect with you, so I just didn't try as hard. That's a nice excuse. It's not an excuse. It's an explanation. And it's not good enough. I know that. She looked at me. I'm going to do better. Not for your father, but because you deserve better. You've always deserved better. I didn't say anything. What was there to say? Ashley's pregnancy progressed. She decided to keep the baby, which meant community college instead of Michigan State. Mom had to swallow that pill, watching her perfect golden child's perfect future dissolve into diapers and late-night feedings and student loans. The dream of bragging about her daughter at Michigan State died hard. The whole pregnancy thing was weird to live through. Doctor appointments, baby shopping, setting up a nursery in what used to be our home office. Ashley getting bigger, more tired, more scared. The baby's father never came around. Apparently, he'd been some guy at a party. Not exactly long-term relationship material. One night, about a month after everything happened, Mom knocked on my door. Can we talk? I was doing homework, but I closed my laptop. Sure. She sat on the edge of my bed, looking uncomfortable. I've been thinking about what happened, about the choices I made. I waited. I failed you. Not just that night, but for years. I was so focused on Ashley that I didn't see you. Yeah, you didn't. I don't know how to fix this. Maybe you can't fix it. Maybe you just do better going forward. She nodded. Your father said something similar. She stood up. I'm sorry. I know those words aren't enough, but they're what I have. After she left, I sat there thinking. Part of me wanted to tell her to take her apology and shove it, but another part knew that holding on to anger would hurt me more than anyone else. Ashley had her baby in April, middle of the night, 2 weeks early. I woke up to Dad banging on my door at 3 a.m. We're going to the hospital. Ashley's in labor. You coming? I threw on clothes and we drove there in Dad's truck. Mom had already ridden in the ambulance with Ashley. We sat in the waiting room for 6 hours, drinking terrible coffee and not saying much. When the nurse finally came out, we followed her down the hallway. Ashley looked exhausted and scared, and about 1,000 years older than 18. The baby, Riley, was this tiny wrinkled thing in a pink hat. You're going to be an uncle, she said, trying to smile. Yeah, I said. Weird. I really am sorry. For everything. I know saying it doesn't change anything, but I need you to know I think about that night all the time. What I did to you. I looked at Riley, this tiny person who had no idea what mess she'd been born into. You don't need my permission to forgive yourself. That's your work to do. She nodded, tears running down her face. Ashley came home 2 days later with Riley and no clue what she was doing. Babies cry a lot, need constant feeding, don't care about sleep schedules. The house turned into this chaos of crying, exhaustion, and grandparents figuring out new roles. I mostly stayed out of it. School, practice, homework with headphones on to block out the noise. Ashley's mess to deal with, not mine. Over the next year, things evolved. It wasn't some magical healing. Normal had been broken for a long time. But we found a new equilibrium. Ashley's golden child shine wore off fast, replaced by the reality of diapers and 2 a.m. feedings.